Rainbow Six Siege, the beta has concluded, but my boy Scott Butterworth here,
Yo!
he saw more content than they were showing over at Ubisoft. Tell me about it.
Yeah, we actually got a chance to go just last week and play some post-beta new content material stuff that Ubisoft was showing off. The big one really was the situations, which is a sort of single-player training mode.
Okay.
It's kind of the closest thing that Siege is going to have to a campaign, it seems. From what I understand, there are going to be 11 different situations at launch, and each one is basically a mission that focuses on the unique talents of a different operator. So it's different tactical situations. Like the one that I spent the most time playing was called Tubular Assault, and it was an infiltration mission where I had to enter an aircraft that had landed on a runway and eliminate a bunch of terrorists who had like hijacked the plane. And it's interesting because each situation is really designed to just teach you about different strategic elements and mechanics that Siege has to offer. So like it'll teach you about destructible environments and creating lines of sight for yourself, or finding different entry points, or learning about infiltration. And again, like I said, each mission is sort of designed to use a different special ability because each one is built for a specific operator. So they were actually a lot of fun. They were very engaging, and they feel relatively substantial. I mean, it is essentially like a tutorial or a training mode, so it's not really a substitute for a full campaign. But they are designed specifically to be single player, so you can kind of get a lot out of them and learn a lot before you jump in online and just get like totally slaughtered.
And do you get, because there is, I don't know if this is going to be the full retail game, you basically have to like buy your operators with the currency that you get from playing the game. And if you did the tutorials in the beta, you got currency. Does this tie into that, or do you know how that's going to like function in the final game? Or
Honestly, they didn't touch on that.
Okay.
It's possible. I get the impression that again these are sort of intended to be tutorials. But I imagine any game with in-game currency, they tend to reward you for playing.
Yeah.
So I suspect that this will tie into the currency system, but can't confirm that.
Okay, and within these situations, did you see any new operators that we haven't seen, or did
So
they?
yeah, actually, so in addition to situations, they also let us play a bunch more PvP.
Nice.
And even some PvE. We got to play a bunch of terrorist hunt, which was really fun, both bomb defusal and just terrorist elimination. But yeah, within those aspects of the game, we got to try out a few new operators who had not previously been playable at any point.
All right.
Most of them were defenders. So the game, roughly divides, or doesn't roughly, it divides. It's operators. You have 10 attackers and 10 defenders, right?
Yeah,
Depending on which side you're playing, you get to choose those operators. So we mainly saw new defenders. Let's see. So we saw a new guy named Glaz, and actually he was playable in the second of the available situations. He's sort of a distance ranged character, like a mid-range to distance sniper character. His special ability is his special tool is like a night scope on a long to mid-range sniper rifle, and you can actually flip the scope on or off depending on how you're using the character. So that's pretty useful as like a support character, maybe hanging out on the outside of a building to kind of eliminate people as they try to infiltrate. We also saw a defender named Capkin. He is sort of a trap setting character. Aaron affectionately refers to him as the ankle murder guy. Basically, he can set up laser trip mines on door frames and I think windows as well. Basically, if you don't notice them and you break that plane, you will just be blown up.
All right.
And that's kind of like fun and exciting compared to just like putting up a barrier. This is explosions are a way more fun version of that. And the last one I think we saw was a guy named, and I can never say his name right, but it's like Chonka or
Tachanka,
I think.
Yeah, something like that.
I'm like even looking at it on a sheet and I can't even like read it phonetically. But he was another defender, and he has a tripod-mounted LMG, which
wow.
It was a little finicky, like where you could actually place it, and the game wasn't super clear about.
Oh, there were hard points you had to connect with?
Yeah, well, you had to be next to a specific object in the environment.
Interesting.
And so you can't just set
You
it
can't
wherever.
just lay down and put it up.
Exactly. So you have to be sort of strategic and learn where you can actually set it up. But still, if you find a choke point and you're able to like place it,
That sounds deadly.
it is brutal. So he can be, if you find the right use for this guy, he can be incredibly useful, especially if you like funnel people the right way using your teammates. It can be really, really deadly.
Yeah, and I imagine they showed off some new maps because that's one of the things that they kind of haven't shown a lot of?
It wasn't. There's nothing like super exciting to report back. We did see a couple new maps.
All right.
We saw a map called Oregon that was the interesting thing about the maps we saw actually that hadn't totally been true in previous maps is there were maps with multiple buildings, so you could actually go into the wrong space on accident potentially.
Okay.
It made it a little trickier for the attackers because you still have your drones you can send in and scout out. But if there are multiple buildings, that really complicates things. So that was really the interesting twist on the new maps that we saw.
And that kind of ties back into some of the defenders that you saw too. Like the guy with the night scope could be in one window looking through like the other building.
I hadn't thought of that. That'd be perfect.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the cool thing about Siege, right? Is that you're getting all these tools and you can use them in all these different ways, and that's really what the game's all about.
Because before, like you couldn't really go outside as the defenders, which, balance-wise is probably fair, or else everybody would just like run out the window and kill each other on the street before they got inside the house or whatever. But I guess like with the dual building stuff, that could be more fun. It
opens up some new options for sure. And the last thing we thought wasn't really related to anything, but it was actually really cool. There's a Spectator Mode, which sounds really kind of like dry and boring, but it seems really well executed and it's really robust. You can actually like zoom the camera all the way out into like a bird's eye view of the map, and it lets you can actually shift the camera by floor, so you can see a sort of Sims-esque view of everything that's going on, which is really helpful because you learn the maps, you learn the lines, the choke points, you see where people are setting things up. So it's a great way to learn the game. And you can also, of course, like go into first-person view and switch cameras and see the entire match from different players' perspectives. It's only built so that there can only be one spectator at a time.
Oh, okay.
So I'm guessing that they did that so that person could actually stream what they're seeing.
Yeah.
So you'll have like Twitch streamers and things like that as the one spectator operating like as the cameraman in the experience. But they give you a lot of tools, and this is actually kind of the perfect game for that sort of thing because when you're in the match, it can be difficult to figure out what everyone's up to, but having a top-down view and being able to switch cameras so easily makes it really simple to learn everyone's tactics and to get a really unique perspective on the action.
Yeah, I guess if you had more than one, there would be rampant just using the Spectator Mode cheating if people had local
potentially, yeah. So let's hope
partners.
that doesn't happen. But I imagine they've considered that, and we'll be able to prevent anything like that from happening.
And that's on all the versions? That's not just a PC function? That's like everything?
Yeah, as I believe, I think they actually showed it to us on a PS4.
Nice.
So as far as I know, yes, that is available on all SKUs of the game.
That'll make streaming super easy for people who want to just watch cool streams.
Yeah, I think that's the intention. Like, I think that they secretly have some like esports ambitions for this game, and they're going to kind of let the community decide if that's going to happen, because really it is up to the community if it really is going to catch on. But clearly, this is built with that sort of thing in mind.
Yeah, Ubisoft's never tried to jam a shooter down anyone's throat as an esports shoot mania. Looking at you. But anything else? Anything else you have to report back?
No, I mean, it was fun to get to jump back in the game and do more terrorist hunt stuff, and I enjoyed the situations, and I'm happy to see there's a little bit of single-player content. I mean, we know that there are going to be some narrative elements. We know that Angela Bassett's in the game, for example, so I imagine that this will tie into the situations, right? I mean, that just makes sense.
Is Dean Chavez in the game? That's what I want to know.
It remains to be seen.
All right.
But clearly those elements are going to tie in somehow, I'd have to imagine. They didn't talk much about that, but, hey, we'll find out when the game comes out in, 6 or so weeks.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. I'll be on PC. What you going to play on?
Probably be on PS4. I'm a console guy.
Nice. All right. Well, thanks, dude, for reporting back, and for everything else you want to do, be sure to be at GameSpot.com.
GameSpot.com.
That's where the games are.